This is a new event series that we're doing at the Bangor Daily News, trying to tackle some big topics in small settings. And my name is Matt Yunker. I'm the Bangor Daily News Assistant Editorial Editor. Work on the editorial board. And we are focusing on 4 issues this year in 2019. One of them being climate change, workforce development, cost of rural living, and we're also looking at referendum reform here in the state as well. But so we're sort of using climate change as a jumping off point today to talk about environmental action and whether or not it can make sense for businesses. And I think, spoiler alert, I think you're going to hear tonight that it can. But I just want to point out, you probably all met Kimberly Scholes as well, our event coordinator, Joellen Easton, our audience director, and Robert Easton is running tech for us, and our very talented photographer, Linda Okresic over there. And also, big thank you to Cheryl and West Market Square Artisan Coffeehouse for hosting us today. Hopefully you guys have all gotten some beverages and some food, but she'll be back there if you need her. But yeah, so again, we're just trying to work on this issue, just have a conversation today about what are the business incentives and maybe even imperatives for environmental action. And we're lucky to have a great panel here. We're going to say we have Kristen Porter, who is a longtime cutler fisherman, and he is the new head of the Maine Lobstermen Association. How long have you been in that role now?
About a year and a half.
Okay, so not new. We're not new at all. But going to have some great insights for us on the lobster industry. And we have Brad Ryder from Epic Sports here in Bangor, here to talk about the nexus of environmental issues and the outdoor industry. We also have Abe Firth from Orono Brewing Company. Abe is a co-owner of several businesses here in the Bangor and Orono area, and he's a member of this new initiative with the Natural Resources Council of Maine called the Maine Brewshed Alliance. So Abe's going to talk to us about the importance of clean water in the brewing industry and maybe some other environmental causes that his businesses are involved in. And last but not least, we have Kristen Jackson. So we have 2 Kristens on the panel. Kristen Jackson, the outreach coordinator for the Natural Resources Council of Maine, who's going to talk about how her organization engages with members of the business community for shared goals in terms of environmental and economic action. So I think I'm going to turn it over to her now. She's going to talk a little bit about those efforts. Then we're going to ask some questions from the panel, and after about 15 minutes or so, open it up to questions from all of you. We're hoping most of this event will be a discussion with all of us in this room. So we're going to kind of set the stage here with a little bit of conversation, and then turn it over to you guys. So.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Matt. So like you said, my name is Kristen. I work with the Natural Resources Council of Maine. So we are the state's largest environmental advocacy group. We have been around since 1959, and actually just this past Tuesday was our 60th birthday, which is very exciting. And we work on a whole host of issues across the environmental spectrum, mostly focused in the State House, and just came off one of the most successful legislative sessions in the past 20 years for the environment, so lots to celebrate there. But throughout our 60-year history, we've worked and partnered with the business community on a whole bunch of different issues, everything from climate change to protecting public lands to protecting clean water. All of which we see as really integral to the Maine brand and to Maine as it is. We're known for our forests and our waterways and our fisheries and our outdoor recreation opportunities, and so all of that I think contributes to not only having a healthy environment but a healthy economy. And so I think not only Maine people but Maine businesses really recognize that our economy and our environment are intertwined and can't really be separated from each other. So I'll tell you just really quickly about 3 different ways we've engaged the business community, but then turn it over to these folks who can actually talk about what they've done as business leaders. But the first I'll mention is what Matt sort of teed up, was forming the Maine Brewshed Alliance, which Abe and Orono Brewing were founding members of. And so this is a coalition of breweries in Maine that are committed to protecting clean water. We just launched back in March, but the idea is we'll engage in advocacy, so having the brewery members speak up about clean water policies that are active. We'll also engage in education and outreach, so talking to our customers and members about the importance of clean water, and then also in fundraising, so raising money for various clean water initiatives. And we started with 13 brewery members, and since we launched in March, we're now up to around 35. And through the outreach that I did to help start this alliance, we didn't have one single person say no, right? I was really surprised by how engaged maybe not surprised, because that sounds like I wasn't expecting it, which I don't think is true. But the whole brewing community was really welcoming of the idea of this initiative, not only because clean water is their number one ingredient and what they need for their bottom line, but way beyond just the economic impact, and again recognizing that clean water is so imperative to our way of life here in Maine, whether it's the health of Maine people or our recreation opportunities, or beyond just the economic imperative. So that's one example, and Abe will probably talk a little bit more about that. But another example that I believe Brad was involved in Epic Sports was working to form the Katahdin Woods and Waters National Monument, which happened at the end of the Obama administration in 2016. And so we were trying really hard to get that piece of land to be protected for all of Mainers to enjoy, and the entire country. And so we're looking for ways to advocate for that land. And one of the things that we found really influential was in 2015, we got over 200 businesses in the Bangor region, so Epic Sports was on that letter, and in the Katahdin region, to send to the Department of Interior to support the National Monument. And so that letter was really influential in getting the Maine's congressional delegation to speak out for the monument, as well as the Department of Interior. And then the last example is we've done a ton of work over the past few decades to get businesses involved in climate action, which again was the sort of spur for this whole conversation. That started in 2010. We did a letter to the Maine's congressional delegation urging for positive action on climate that over 500 businesses signed in Maine. And so that was big businesses like Lady Wellhan, that I'm sure y'all would recognize, all the way down to like your mom and pop acupuncturist on Main Street or whatever it might be. That's just one that stands out in my mind. But so tons of businesses calling for climate action. Some of them calling because, again, it would impact their businesses, but again, just many of them because of the moral imperative of protecting our environment, not only because of the economy, but because it's what makes, protecting the environment is what makes Maine, Maine. And so I'm happy to talk more about any of those initiatives or elaborate more on our climate stuff, but I think y'all probably wanted to hear from these guys, so I'll turn it over to them.
Yeah, I'd like to start with Abe, just because, I mean, the idea for this event actually happened when we got the information about the Brewshed Alliance, and we thought, oh, that's a very interesting idea. So interested to hear from you, was it an easy decision to sign up for that alliance? And can you talk a little bit about why clean water is so important for your business?
Sure. So Maine is a place where we've really gained a national reputation for having great beer. We're really excited to be part of that. There's over 100 breweries in the state, and our water quality in Maine is a big reason why we have such great beer here. So it was a very natural fit. We feel that we have a responsibility based on the fact that we use so much water, and that our product 100% relies on the fact that that water stays quality water. But also we want to be good neighbors, and we feel that we are able to have a voice that can go statewide through things like the beer we made. That we did an Earth Day beer called Love Your Planet. There was a collab with Foundation down in Portland, and that told the story of what we're doing with the Maine Brewshed Alliance, and we were able to raise a little bit of money for the Maine Brewshed Alliance and for the Natural Resources Council. So it's just a great way for us to kind of work together to spread awareness and to help protect the resource that we feel is imperative to our business, but also to why we're in Maine. My parents moved here from out of state before I was born because Maine's a beautiful place and they wanted to enjoy it. They lived about 10 minutes from Lobsterman over here, down the coast and down East Maine, and they lived in a little log cabin without electricity or running water because they were really very extremely into environmentalism and into low impact living. So early on in my life, I got to have the joy of having a well, not a well, just a natural spring be our water source, and just filling buckets, and that's where our water was. Now I live in a home in Orono that I just turn the faucet on. So I've always kind of had things have changed over years based on that early experience to living in like a modern with a shower and toilet and that kind of stuff. But it's definitely something that brought my family here. The beauty of Maine, and I think it's important for all of us to appreciate that and respect it.
Yeah, Brad, you were pretty vocal in your support of the National Monument and its creation. Why did you decide to jump into that issue so full-throatedly?
Well, when the whole effort to create a national monument started, it seemed like, besides being the right thing to do, but it also seemed like no one from state level, with the exception of Angus King, was really interested in getting behind the effort. And so if they're not going to, then somebody has to. And we quickly learned that there were a lot of other people that really wanted to see it happen. So it wasn't a difficult decision at all to really get behind that effort.
And have you seen any change to your business volume since the monument's been created?
Well, I'd like to be able to say, oh yes, just huge percentages. So that wouldn't be really terribly honest. But just in the last 2 years, the number of people that have come through our doors and said, gee, can you tell me about the National Monument? Or do you have a map? Or how do you get there? And it just led to really easy conversations about what it is about, where it was, and no, you can't get there in 15 minutes, and no, it's not Acadia, but not yet. But that's soon to come.
No, don't make it.
Let me rephrase that. No, it is really a gem, and if anyone hasn't been there yet, it's a great place.
In preparing for this event, Chris and I was taking a look at your Twitter page.
Oh, geez.
And didn't see anything bad. But I couldn't help but notice your bio, and I'm gonna read a quote from it if you don't mind. It says, "I work hard to catch fish and to make sure my kids will be able to catch fish too." So can you talk a little bit about that sort of generational imperative within the lobstering industry to protect your resource?
Yep.
And what, give us
And I can give it as far as the lobstering industry and the fishing industry as a whole. Just everybody, it's in this business, most it's generational. Small communities have been working on the water, and they want to make sure that their kids and their friends' kids can still make a living. So the things that especially the lobster industry's done for 50 or 60 years is to have our regulations so that there'll always be something there. And we're throwing back the small ones, throwing back the big ones, just working in the middle. We do escape vents, and we do, things so that we're not doing the fate of other industries, other fisheries that didn't do those things and are collapsed or in the process of rebuilding. And obviously, climate and just some of the demises of the other fisheries have helped out tremendously. So we're kind of reaping the benefits of a changing environment.
Is there a point where those could cease being benefits?
It's a ways off, but yes, there's a tipping point of, right now we're in what we call a sweet spot of ocean temperature in the Gulf of Maine, where it's what lobsters like to reproduce, and the small lobsters this big and also when they settle onto the bottom, their main predators, the groundfish, aren't there anymore. And we had an urchin fishery. Urchin fishery has kind of gone downhill, so all the kelp that they used to eat has grown up, so that's protective cover for those baby lobsters in that. So we're kind of, because of some of the other things that happened, we're in that, things are going in the right direction for us. Other than some of the external things around lobstering, but the lobster and the resource itself is in pretty good shape.
Now, can you explain a little bit, you talk about that sort of shifting sweet spot. I think there's this narrative of lobsters moving north.
Yeah.
Is this like a family of lobsters packing up their bags saying, hey honey, we're heading up the coast? Or are they